At one point this season, the St. Louis Cardinals were 10-24. They since turned things around, came to Cleveland, and it was the Guardians who frustrated another team. Instead of the Guardians giving somebody else a chance to turn their season around, maybe they turned their season around. It was a stressful weekend, but it was a good Monday. The Guardians played one of their first stress-free games in about 2 months. We hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Is that positive steps for the Cleveland Guardians? Are they heading in the right direction? We look at that and more in the first checkpoint of the Major League season on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs. We love Bird Dogs. They're the most comfortable shorts I own. Check them out for yourself at birddogs.com. Over there is Justin. I am Jeff. As the show is going on, for Justin and I have been having a lot of fun over with my good friends at Prospect Live with their MLB draft mock machine. So I'm doing a mock in the background of this show. Cleveland Guardians first round. Matt Shaw goes one pick beforehand. Colton Ledbetter is who I took personally if I was sitting there running it. Good analytics, high-level production in the SEC. We're going to just have some fun with a team that has won 3 out of 4, had their second victory of, more than 3 runs on Monday all year. And Logan Allen is one sick man in a good way. But we'll get into all of that on today's show. Justin, listen, it was a weekend where I don't know if I've ever had a weekend that my team won a series where I spent more time being unhappy watching these games go back and forth and be frustrating, and the offense be frustrating and the decisions be frustrating. And I think in these 4 games, did they have just 1 stolen base attempt? As my under the hood complaining continues on that. But listen, they're now have won 3 out of 4. Process be darned, right? It's nice to be able to talk about it. I am kidding with the process be darned there.
Yeah. Jose Ramirez had the only stolen base attempt on Sunday.
Got caught stealing.
It was Friday. I'm sorry. Yeah, he got caught stealing. And I was fine with it, him getting caught there because it stinks, but geez, it was an opportunity they had to do it. I mean,
yeah,
all weekend they didn't do a whole lot against St. Louis. And I will say this for that is that they don't see St. Louis a lot, and I think some of their pitchers do a pretty good job of holding runners on. So it's one of those weird situations where it's hard. I think not that should be an excuse because you have advanced scouts, you have coaches going over scouting reports before every series, so you should know, even if you don't see these guys a lot, you should know the tendencies. You should know, okay, this guy's home to first time is this guy's pop time is this. And then it's up to Sandy Alomar to get a read on the pitchers because he's usually pretty good at that. I don't want to harp on this too much. It is definitely, like you said, an under the hood issue. I did look this up because I was complaining on Sunday before the walk-off. Of course I was. As I said, the Guardians just are not running. There was a situation on Sunday where was it Jordan Hicks? Who I think was in the game late on Sunday. And it was Jordan Hicks. And they didn't run, and he's super fast at the plate, and he holds runners on good. I did go back and check. Like, he has not had a lot of steals on him over the years. So I get it that it's sometimes an issue, but the fact they aren't attempting as much, and I looked it up. Someone said, well, they're 4th in the Major League in steals, and I was like, okay. And then it was like 54 steals. They were 4th in the league. And they had more steals. They have more steals this year by Sundays, which was their 51st game of the year, than they did all of last year by the 51st game of the year. But 35 of those, it was 46 steals. 35 of those 46 steals came in April. Okay. So that means they had 11 steals in the month of May. And that's probably directly correlated to having an on-base percentage as a team below 300. Their on-base percentage in the month of May coming into Monday was like 290. So, those things are probably directly correlated. We've talked about it so many times in this show that I don't even know if I can keep saying it. Like, yes, they are probably, it is paralysis because you aren't getting a lot of guys on base and you aren't trying to run into more outs. But this is the way this team has to win. So, yeah, they attempted one steal all weekend against the Cardinals. And, of course, it was Jose on Friday. Got thrown out, but they ended up winning that game. So, who cares, right? But like you said, process be darned. And Plante, who he stole it off, or he got caught by, has a long arm action, too. So it's like it was just a really good throw by Contreras. It was a really unfortunate string of things. But, yeah, it was a frustrating series win against St. Louis. Like, Bieber did not have great stuff. He walked 4. He got, he bobbed and weaved through some trouble. Clase had some issues. Then he got squeezed. They scored all their runs in winning. And
he had to get 5. So, I texted Justin that night. Sorry, interrupting everyone's favorite mark on your bingo card. He gave 5 outs in that inning because Tommy Edman, the first pitch was a strike that they called a ball, and he ended up having that. Was it a double off the wall? Was it just a single? He hit the ball pretty hard, and then Nolan Gorman got 4 strikes. So he got squeezed. And the thing is, I mean, for all of Bieber's problems, he got through it. And again, when it is the third time through the order, and we saw this in almost every game with St. Louis, they just need to have a guy up. Like Gaddis was great on Sunday. We'll talk about it. Yes, people will fixate on the negative there, but like Gaddis was really solid in general. And like, you just can't put him through that order a third time. Like they need to have someone up every time it's a third time around. And boy, has NEL continued to look good this past 4 days too.
Yeah. And great to see him get more leverage opportunities. I mean, he got a leverage opportunity on Saturday in the loss. Unfortunately, they lost, but he pitched there Saturday. He pitched on Friday. He was the setup guy, and then he pitched again on Monday. So they have been using him a lot, which is what you want to see. You want to see him get, and the velocity is held. He hasn't missed as many bats as he did last week when everybody first noticed that the velocity was way up, but they are trusting him more. That's good. You see the shift away from Karinchak, which is good. I mean, he pitched on Saturday and he walked 3, and what a disaster that was. How about Sam Hentges Saturday, by the way? I tweeted, I said, this is not a good spot to put him in because he is still kind of, I'm not saying Hentges isn't good. I'm saying he was struggling because he's still getting back into pitching regularly because it was only his 3rd or 4th appearance, I think. And you bring him into a no outs, bases loaded situation, and the guy just walks straight through burning hot coals, gives you 2 innings. They had a chance to win Saturday. That Saturday was obviously very frustrating because Jack Flaherty has walked, half the planet this season, has been fighting the media about talking about his fastball velocity because it's like down to 91, and he's like, I don't need it. Well, he didn't need it against Cleveland because this is how many times does it happen where this is why we're sitting here being frustrated over 3 out of 4, but
yeah,
how many times has it happened this year? Like Lance Lynn was pitching like crap. How many guys this year have pitched like crap? And then they face Cleveland. It's like, oh, they're turned around. And Jack Flaherty, like I said, has walked half the planet this year. He walked 1 in 7 innings on Saturday night. The Guardians had 2 hits, or they gave up 2 hits, I should say. And that was their 3rd loss in franchise history when allowing 2 hits or fewer in extra innings. And the other ones were in 1901 and 1977. So, like, that doesn't happen often. And I don't know what the record was in 1901, but I can assure you whatever it was in 1977 was not good. So, like,
the entire 70s were bad. So we can just
stay for like a year. They won two out of 3 against St. Louis. They're all 1-run games again, more pressure pack games, and they really needed Sunday's walk-off win. Xavier Curry gave him 3 innings out of the bullpen, which were great. I know he gave up a lot of hard contact, but he was fantastic. Like you said, Gaddis was good until the 5th, and yeah, he is one of those guys where he cannot go a 3rd time through the order. And even Friday night, they let Bieber stay in too long, and they're lucky they didn't pay for it. But he stayed in the 7th inning, and he shouldn't have been in there as long as he did. And Stephan came in and didn't really have his best control and got bailed out. But the weekend was frustrating as much as it was a win. Maybe Sunday can be a jumping off point. I hate to say like we're being negative and about 3 out of 4 because we shouldn't be. Because obviously Monday's win, which we need to get into, was much more important because the Orioles have been on fire and they came in and shut them down and spread it out finally for their first win by more than 3 runs since March 31st. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, those are games you do have to win. They've played a lot of 1-run games, obviously. Jose's walk-off win, hopefully it's a jumping off point for them. They needed that win very badly. St. Louis had, like I said, had been turning things around. They were off to a bad start. They started turning things around. And normally, that would be a team that comes to Cleveland not playing well. And would frustrate Cleveland, and it was the other way around. Now I see a lot of St. Louis fans that are very upset about that series right now, by the way, which, could have gone either way. Ryan Helsley just had a bad day. He's a great pitcher, and he just did not have his control, and the Guardians took advantage. But let's kind of end the frustration points there. We do have one more. I know everyone's so tired of the Ahmed talks, but we do have one more thing to bring up about that. We've got to talk about the upcoming rotation moves, which we have a lot to say there. And let's talk about the Baltimore win in just a second.
And our good friends at FanDuel are back. And you want to make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's the biggest one they have said. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, there's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnMLB and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnMLB. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And then don't forget, on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, you can check out the Guardians and Orioles on your SiriusXM app with Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus on the hometown call. Just search Guardians. All right, Jeff. So Monday's win much, much better because obviously the Orioles have been playing very well. I heard on the broadcast they went 13-9 on a stretch against it was Atlanta, Tampa Bay. It was a bunch of really good teams. They won 13-9 on that stretch. And they've just played really well all season. I know Gunnar Henderson's been off to a bad start for them, obviously. And he didn't play on Monday, I should say. But man, I don't want to say everything's fixed and everything's good now, right? Because it's not. But like some of those hits they got that won the game for them, found holes late in the game, and we're still questioning whether or not that's sustainable, if that's a process moving forward that's going to happen for them. But it felt like a 2022 Guardians game, right? Like they ran the bases aggressively. I know Ahmed made an error throwing the ball. It is what it is. But Gabby Arias was great defensively. Logan Allen was great. The bullpen was good. They did run they didn't steal a base, but they ran the bases hard. They took extra bases on hits. They moved up. They tagged up from third on the sac fly from Cam Gallagher. Like it felt like a 2022 Guardians win. You just hope some of those hits they put in play found holes like they do. That's the only questionable thing is we're still trying to figure out if that is a sustainable approach.
Yes, and it was the frustration of like they were able to win. And it's like maybe not it. I don't know how much I want to put in today's game into that mix, but specifically those weekend games being so close where it's like either team could have easily swept the other team. Like those were those games. And it's just the number of times, was it like Sunday or maybe Saturday's game where they just got base runners on and we saw that approach fail. It's like we saw it be successful. We also saw it fail repeatedly. This team, and that's why, again, they need to be running like the hair is on fire, because if you're not going to hit for power, you need to find ways to push the envelope. And we've seen catchers not be good with the new rules. So make them make bad throws, have them, you need to force the ticket, force the issue here. So yeah, I'm very happy that they took 3 out of 4 of these last ones, because it's been dark times. We had some fun on Friday discussing all the gloom and doom. Side note, I had to restart that mock, and now is Matt Shaw in the first. Oh shoot, I totally forgot my third round, and I'm blanking on the rest. So I'll loop back in because we don't want dead air here. But yeah, just for some fun draft stuff in the background as I discuss general view with this team. But it's, we're sitting there I think we're all very desperate for them to do something, right? Like that is the whole point. Max Anderson in the second, Mitch Jebb with the Comp B pick, and Joe Whitman in the third. I'm going college heavy here, but
no shock.
Logical types.
They had 7 hits on Friday, which, whatever. They had 8 on Saturday. They should have won Saturday's game.
Yeah,
so frustrating. And I know people are going to get mad about the process too. Like David Fry's catching late in the game there. To me, that's a failure on the organization that David Fry was catching there. People are going to blame him. he
Agreed.
should not have been in there. Like,
No.
he has never caught most of these guys that he's catching. Like, he was catching Sandlin. I mean, outside of spring training, he probably hadn't caught Sandlin very often.
No.
And he didn't catch a game in Columbus this year. He only has caught at the big league level late in the game. So
and he's barely caught in general over the past few years too. Like
with Cleveland, especially the last 2 years, he's barely caught. So you're putting them in there in a high stress situation to get with the runner on second and extra innings with Sandlin, a guy he's never pitched, never really caught, who didn't have good control, obviously, because he was throwing the ball all over the place. And you haven't let him catch much this year. That's an organizational fail. That's not on David Fry. Is he a great defender back there? No, he's probably not. But that's an organizational failure to put him in back there. That's a game they should have won. The only reason Friday was close, obviously, is because they had a couple sack flies on Friday, and then things got tight in the ninth inning with weird
Class
stuff.
A had 5 outs in the ninth.
So that game shouldn't have been as close, but it was still going to be a 3-run game no matter what. But yeah, so Sunday, or I should say Monday, they spread it out late in the game. Like I said, they took the extra base on some hits in the outfield, and Oquan and Jose especially. Hey, good game for Will Brennan. Like, God, he needed that. 2 doubles and a single, 3 hits for him. That was fantastic to see. Logan Allen, obviously. Logan Allen, that was probably, I don't want to steal what you want to say, but that was easily his best performance of the year. I mean, 19 swings and misses, 5 on the fastball, 5 on the changeup, 7 on the sweeper. This says 2 on the cutter. I don't really know if I guess he probably does have a cutter, but it's not exactly I don't know. He changes between the fastball or the slider, the sweeper. He can manipulate it. So every pitch he threw on Monday was great. I mean, Cam Gallagher bailed him out after the leadoff walk to Mullins, threw a runner out at second. That kept things going easy. And from there, he just kind of cruised. I mean, he was just fantastic. Gabby Arias played great defense behind him multiple times at third base. He didn't have a hit on Monday, but he did have a walk, so that's good to see for a guy that hasn't always had the best approach. He continues to just find ways to get on base and do good things. I mean, he walked on Friday, I think. I
feel like he reached base in every game.
He didn't play on. He came in late in the game on
every game he started. He reached base, and I could be wrong about that.
He had a hit on Sunday as well.
So he's, hey, you reach base 1 out of 4 times. I'm willing to take that. It's like you want more.
Especially with wherever he's playing defense. He did have one ball in right field on Friday night where he misjudged it and it fell in front of him. Like he got a bad read. But other than that, defensively in right field, he's been fine.
Been really good, I feel like his arm is a weapon in right field.
Yeah. So Memorial Day is kind of the first checkpoint of the season. So the Guardians, because the Twins had a miraculous comeback against the Astros on Monday, unfortunately, the Guardians are 3.5 back to the Central Division, and I think we understand the goal here is not to win the American League Central. There's a bigger goal they need to have after last season. Unfortunately, with how the season has unfolded so far, I don't want to say like I'm not feeling good about 3 out of 4, especially when the Cardinals haven't been that great this year, but they still have a lot of good players, and that's a great lineup, right? The Cardinals are a good team. I think they'll figure it out. I think they're the best team on paper in that division, and the NL Central stinks as well right now. And they beat the Orioles. We'll see what happens the rest of the series. I don't want to sit here and say like, I'm not feeling good about 3 out of 4 because you should. This is probably the best stretch of baseball they've had in terms of winning since the first 2 series of the year between Oakland and Seattle. Like
one of those was against a team that isn't really a major league team
that has 11 wins. Yeah, they're awful. Yeah, so this is probably their best stretch they've had. Like, remember we thought the Washington series was going to be their turnaround point, right? And then it wasn't. Like we've been looking for points all year. Okay, this is where you're starting to see some good signs and they're moving in the right direction. So I think we need to see it for a longer period of time. Like you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. The pitching, the way it's going right now, we're going to talk about the rotation. I think you feel good about your pitching rotation in the playoffs. Like last year going into the postseason, it was Bibee McKenzie, and you're like, okay, the third pitcher, I don't know, Cal Quantrill, not exactly the guy you want in a playoff series, especially twice. But right now, I don't care who starts game 3. Is it, you go Bieber, McKenzie, Bibee, Allen. I don't care who starts game 3. They have lots of options for game 3 if you get to the playoffs. So pitching is there. It's just, are they going to hit enough to get there? And I think right now for me, yes, the division's still winnable, thank God, because it's terrible. But I still want to see a longer stretch of sustained success. I want to see them running the base. Again, they had 11 steals in the month of May. 11 steals. They had 35 in April. You've got to run the bases more. I know that's a correlation of not getting on base, but when you are on base, you have to hit the pedal.
But they're also just, I will stand by the fact that it feels like that they are hesitant out there and that they're not pushing it for whatever reason. They are not, even when they get on base, they're not pushing that.
Yeah. So I just need to see it for a longer period of time. I'm not saying I'm not like in a good mood. They've won 3 out of 4, especially with the Baltimore win. I'm still skeptical because some of the hits they collected late in the game were bouncers and they found holes, which, this is how that team played a year ago. They had a lot of hits that found holes and they ran the bases well. Even if they didn't steal a base on Monday, at least they were aggressive when they had the chance to run the bases. I guess that's a positive step. So I will say these are positive steps, but I need to see a more sustained couple games of performance where things are trending back towards the 2022 direction before I'm really ready to declare that things are headed right in the back direction.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be. Like I said, I want to see a more complete approach because there was a lot of points throughout. Like we can even, I had someone get mad at me because I thought it was really foolish, that whole situation where they put in Brennan late with the bases loaded, and again, they got out coach. Yeah, it's because how often this year have we seen this team like not have a guy up and then need to get a guy up, and
he's not ready. Yeah.
He's not ready. They, Cleveland. First off, I don't like pitch hitting for Brennan there. One, because Brennan's a ground ball guy and he's technically been your worst hitter this year. I'd rather leave in the guy who's more likely. Zunino is either going to strike out or put the ball in the air. Right? So he is a better guy with the bases loaded.
His last couple hits have been infield hits.
They were, but he also had 2 hits that game. Like, it's like
they were infield hits.
I know, but yeah, those probably don't happen with the bases loaded. But at the same time, like, I don't think you need to be the hyper aggressive one in that situation. I think you kind of set it up and then make that. And I know they end up getting the win anyway. So it's like going from a guy who's more of a fly ball profile to a ground ball profile. And then it was even more frustrating because we've seen them need it. Like, why haven't they done that slow play all year? It's like, I don't know if they knew to do that until that moment. And that's been kind of the problem. They seem kind of asleep at the wheel at points in some of these decisions. And that's a big concern. And, again, it's like, why I understand everything else that's happened and they're not on base as much, but they're not even trying to. 1 stolen base attempt in 4 games. 1 in 4. And
Wilson Contreras is not a good defensive catcher.
And like, remember they just took him off the catching position because he's bad at handling a pitching staff.
Like, that's a guy you should have been running on. And I have to see the pitchers and see if they're doing a good job of holding runners. But I don't know, like we've said all year, it felt like these rules were designed to help Cleveland, and so far it hasn't. So,
I mean, my big concern is they've been, for the most part, unfundamentally sound. Yeah. And he's got a 69th percentile in pop time, which is okay. I'd have to go and look at his percentage, but
Contreras,
terrible framing, but not even terrible 43rd percentile. But he's not known as a defensive guy, and still it doesn't.
Well, if you got benched, that's
you need to go out and do something. And for a team again that is not sound, that has all of its issues. But we're gonna come back and talk about Ahmed if we have time. Luckily, it's a little evergreen, so we can always roll it forward if we don't get to it today. But we definitely want to talk about this rotation in a moment on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
All right, so you want
to make sure to check out all of the Guardians action on SiriusXM this week. Just search Guardians in your SiriusXM app, and you can listen to all the games.
Yep, 7:00 on Tuesday night, I should say. There's only one night game in this Baltimore series. They play a day game on Wednesday, and they're off again.
Not
off Thursday. They played.
No, it's a full week. This is our only full week we got, and it's what Bieber versus Austin Voth. But I think Voth is a lefty, so maybe that'll be a little trickier. Is he right? So and Voth's not good. The Guardians are set up to, and tomorrow is. Listen, Cal Gibson's been okay this year, but he's not great. Like this is actually I'm going to jinx the heck out of it. This is a chance for the first sweep. Probably not. Like tomorrow's game should heavily favor Baltimore.
I said that against the White Sox, and I was dead wrong. So
I think tomorrow's a really bad matchup personally. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen because I think tomorrow's is awful. But like they should take 2 out of 3 because Voth is not good.
He's not. No. Okay. So you're talking about the rotation.
Yes, Logan Allen. By the way, you talked about you didn't want to steal my thunder earlier. He has the highest strikeout rate of any pitcher on this team. 9.76 strikeouts per 9. The next starter on this list, do you know who's number 2 amongst their starters?
Bibee.
Yeah, Bibee at 8.91. So nearly a whole strikeout more per 9 for Allen, which is not what any of us expect. Like, think to the end of last year when people were like, "Oh, he got murdered in AAA and he's not a top 10 guy." Like I was one of them. Like in fairness, if I'm gonna do my victory laps, I moved him out of my top 10 at the end of the year. I did. I mean, before I did my final off-season thing and I went back and looked at everything, I moved him back in. He was 8th. But there were concerns and it looks kind of dumb right now, doesn't it? Don't overreact to a small sample size at a new level where the baseball is slippery. Like once we talked to Tanner Bibee on this very show, it was Tim Herron on the show. We talked about how the baseball was more slippery. That was when I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And he has been great. Next guy up, like next starter. Do you know who has the 3rd highest strikeouts per 9 among starting pitchers?
Is it Hunter Gaddis?
It is Peyton Batenfield.
Oh, that's still not good.
At 7.01. Then comes Shane Bieber at 6.21. Then Gaddis at 5.93. Then Plesac. Then Civale. Worst strikeout per 9. Cal Quantrill at barely over 5. He is not missing any bats at all.
Okay, so Aaron Civale is going to make his next start. He is lined up to pitch on, I believe, Sunday. No, he pitched Sunday, so he's lined to pitch Friday. This week coming up.
That's the Gaddis start, isn't it?
Yeah, because
he's perfectly aligned with Gaddis. And again, I do want to take a moment to say, like, I'm going to interrupt again. Gaddis,
Friday or Saturday.
Gaddis,
it would have been Saturday.
Gaddis, if you go look at his Savant, or you can look at some of my tweets from this weekend, it was a solid start. It wasn't a great start, but he was solid. And he used that slider more. His usage change has been huge for him. I'm not saying he is a starter for this team. I'm not saying he is anything more than 6th or 7th in line to be a starter, but he's a nice depth option who has 2 good starts in a row now with some of those. But as Justin said in our text, he's probably a 5 and fly guy. But if you have that as a spot starter, as a depth arm, that's fantastic.
As long as you play that the right way. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He is going to be home run prone. He always is. So that's always going to be an issue for him. But yeah, if he is your 6th starter, that's fine. And really, he's not their 6th starter because the way the rotation's looking, I don't know who is going to be their 6th starter. Like, you got Bieber, you got Quantrill, and you have
Civale. And
Civale comes back this week. I think he's going to go for Gaddis. So they'll start one of the Twins games this weekend. I don't know. I have no idea which way they're leaning to do this. I continue to say, like, I think they should do a 6-man rotation. I know your argument against it,
but isn't when you and I were discussing, it's like even like Bieber is very strict about his rotation.
He likes to go every 5th day. Like he does. And Tito's watch card, he said it doesn't make sense. That's something you have to do out of the gate. You can't do it midway through the year. Just say, hey, by the way.
So I think it is 100%. I think, like, if you look over at like roster reference, they've already lined it up for him to replace Bibee. And I think, listen, Bibee was my number 1 prospect. I love him to death. This is not anything other than the reason he gets sent down is 1, Logan Allen is their only lefty. Their only lefty as a starter. Gives them a different look at that rotation. 2, he is performing better. I mean, one can make a case Logan Allen has been their best starter in May.
Did you see how well Bibee pitched on Saturday?
No, I'm not. I mean,
he had his best start of the year on Saturday. Both of them had their best starts of their career so far this Memorial Day weekend.
If Logan Allen hadn't been left out to dry in his 2nd to last start, he'd be what? Something like 14, starts, right? 14 innings without giving up a run, leads the team in strikeout rates, gives them another look. Bibee also has, I still say, the higher ceiling. There's some really terrible takes out there on Tanner Bibee. It's a great check on like who isn't doing their research and spending their time.
Who's not watching games?
The games, yes. with Bibee, where they talk about his secondaries aren't as good, or that he just added velocity. It's like, no, he added velocity like halfway through last year, if that, even earlier.
He had it coming into the season. He had it.
Yeah, I mean, he's been moving up. It's not like a sudden thing. So that's all. I've seen some terrible takes, and I think so. 1, Allen has been slightly better. 2, he's a lefty. I think 3, Bibee maybe having that higher ceiling. You want to avoid the super 2. So
yeah,
it's nothing other than that. And here's the thing. Honestly, like I was sitting there.
Well, what do you do for McKenzie?
Well, McKenzie replaces Bibee. Then you have
Civale for Gaddis and McKenzie for Bibee. Wow,
Bibee, and then Bibee is down there until the Shane Bieber trade comes together. Because again, I think that sometime in early July he is likely moving, just because Max returns, and I don't personally see this offense doing anything that allows me to believe they're going to actually contend.
Yeah, I
don't want. When Justin's out, I let me know if you like this idea. I might do just a trade Shane Bieber episode where I take all 30 teams and put them in tiers of likelihood of trade, and then explain why some teams make no sense to what teams could actually make sense.
Yeah, I don't want to get super negative and just toss the whole season after they've won 3 out of 4 Memorial Day weekend. They're 2.5 out. Like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the offense coming around either. I also like if they get back into it. They're
a game and a half behind the Tigers.
I know. But
I'm not going to jump back in right now.
I know.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Do you think that even if they are no, I was going to say if they are this close at the trading deadline, if they have the same amount of games out,
then they'll write it out.
They will not trade Bieber.
No, they'll write it out, and then they'll trade him in the offseason like they did with.
But I don't know what they do to go out and get a hitter that they need either. Like without trading Bieber, who do you trade? Like you're not trading Allen and Bibee because you're trading Bieber this winter.
Well, July. If you get to July and you haven't needed to go get Bibee from the minors, that means Civale has pitched well, and maybe you're able to. Maybe you're able to flip him. Maybe you're looking at one of those. I could see them trying to move.
But is he bringing back a bat that this team really needs? Civale?
I don't know.
The only guy that's bringing back a hitter that you really need is
that's where you maybe get lucky, and that's the thing where it's like maybe it's like, yes, my co-host is all for trading these guys. Maybe it's one of those things like the Mets where they have Venitos and Batty, and maybe it is a Civale plus a reliever. Maybe it's Civale. I don't think 99 has much trade value, so let's just stop right there, people. But maybe it's something like Civale and Sandlin. I like Sandlin, but like you got to trade something to get something. But if you trade like Civale and Sandlin for a Venitos or a Batty, maybe it's something like that. But it'd probably be a 2-parter.
I don't see how. Cody Morris is still a little bit away. So here, real quick, we're going to get to the Ahmed thing on Wednesday. This Ahmed stat that wasn't good because we didn't have time today.
It's just about as bad as it gets. We keep
it is about
every article about why Trey Turner is stinking has a hidden nugget on why Ahmed is terrible this year.
But Cody Morris, they're going to build him up to 3 innings and they're going to see what to do from there. My guess is he's going to be a reliever. I don't see how they're going to move him in any other direction besides being in the bullpen. But that could take. He's only pitched one in the 3rd inning so far. That could take a couple more weeks. I don't see 99 surviving on this roster until then. And
he's the worst reliever right now, right? Is there any debate on that?
No, he's bad, and Clase has been weird.
Is their second worst reliever.
I know, and I'm not concerned about him at all. To tell you the truth, I think it's just been very weird. He'll figure it out. But they need 5 starters. I don't know. I feel like. They should go. I still think they should go with 6. I don't know because you can't. People are going to say, "Oh, they moved Cal to the bullpen." They're not moving. I don't think they're moving Cal to the bullpen because
it doesn't.
He hasn't been bad.
His stuff doesn't translate, and
you just got fine when he was a reliever that one year.
Yeah, but guys don't like that.
Piss him off, right? You're going to piss him off.
You're messing with his livelihood. You're making it so he'll earn less in arbitration and have less opportunity. Guys don't respond well to that. You kind of can't do that.
If something happens and you got to bring Cal back into the rotation,
then you got to build him back up,
and that could hurt his arm. When you do that kind of stuff too. So I don't think that is going to be in the cards for them either. But I don't know how they handle this right now. It's
somebody good is going to get sent down, and then I don't know. Like I say, I don't know. There's no easy option here. Because the best option is honestly to trade Bieber for hitting help. Find a team that has that. If it's the Rays, if it's the Mets, if it's
it would just be so
Dodgers.
wild though if you're talking them being if they're in contention for the division, you trade Bieber and you're asking Triston McKenzie and a bunch of kids to go out there and be rotation stalwarts going into the playoffs.
And McKenzie wasn't great last year in the postseason. He had one good start, one bad start, right?
Bay, and he was bad
against New York.
You can go and you can maybe rotate Bibee and Allen being in AAA so they can go down and pitch, and maybe you can cap them at 60 or 70 pitches one game just to kind of limit their workload. I don't know. We've gone too long. We've got stuff to get to tomorrow, and my head.
There's no easy. Basically, the long short is there's no easy choice here. There's no easy option. I know people are like, no, let's get rid of the bad guys. It's well, they're your vets, and that's that whole part that isn't I love OTP, I love MLB the Show, but this isn't the show. You have to deal with people, and people are not just guys who can jerk around.
And Cal's been fine. Cal's been bad. He's been fine, and he's been getting better as the season has gone along too. So. Well, that should about do it.
Yep, that does it. So much for trying to keep it short. We had some good short ones last week outside of Friday. But let us know if you enjoyed the long episode. Our downloads were light this week, according to Chartable. So make sure you are downloading every day, doing your part, being an everydayer here on the show. We have our everyday commenters. I was doing comments. B Skrills, Caleb, Moving Target. These are the people I see every day. Jake D. Thank you to all of you everydayers, and go Guardians, go.